All right, Kiss Army, welcome to the KissFAQ Podcast. Thank you for giving us your time today and letting us into your head. I hope we don't do any damage. We hope that you enjoy. Welcome to episode 389 of the KissFAQ Podcast. I'm your host, Julian Gill, and we're back one more time this year. Get one more episode in, because why not? It's always good to get together with friends and talk Kiss. So we're just going to do some topics from the board today, but before we do so, just a reminder that Kiss is on Access TV on New Year's Eve, starting at 8/7 Central for a broadcast of Kiss Rocks Vegas. So if you haven't seen it and you've got that channel on your cable package, then you'll be able to watch that there. Foo Fighters have a show from Madison Square Garden from the middle of this year, streaming for a short period for the New Year's thing as well, which is kind of cool. Other news, Bruce Kulick is performing tonight. So that's going to form my first question for you when we get to that in a minute. But for now, anyone got any recent additions to their collections, be it Kiss or not Kiss?
Yes, I did this week. Two different items. One of them is the Guitar Player magazine. That nice. Kind of, celebrates the 45th anniversary of Destroyer, and yeah, it's okay. I mean, it's like nothing new that we don't already know,
Yeah.
Because we pretty much know everything.
Any photos?
But not bad. But there's photos.
Yeah, I think I saw that. A lot of it is, kind of from the packaging and book of the Destroyer 45 package.
Yeah, that's one page. There's some stuff with interview with Ace. This I've probably seen this one before actually, but this deal here. But yeah, it's all right. It's not bad. It's just something.
Was it like $10?
Well, it costs like double that. It was, I don't want to say it was like 20. I think normally it's like that, but I got it from. I ordered it online and it cost me a little bit more. So, so that's okay. That's one thing. Then the other one, which was shipped from Germany on the 10th of December, finally made it this week. Was the Kiss Destroyer 45th nice. Anniversary. This is excellent. With the logo.
The different logo. EMI era logo.
Mm-hmm. That's great. EMI era. I do have a EMI one from
so do I.
Original one. But they did some other nice things, and this is the colored vinyl. They did some other nice things, like in the booklet even. Oh, here's one of the sleeves.
Yep.
All right.
No, they went to town on that.
And the Kiss Army logo.
Very cool.
Did nice on that, and I noticed the yellow. Is it the yellow or the other one? It's more like a
orange.
It's more like an orange, and it's like a swirl orange.
Let's see.
Well, this is the yellow one, and again, it has the. Get that right.
Nice.
You can only just see that, so that's nice.
Yeah, let me get that swirl one. I guess the orange one is.
Yeah, I saw someone else's, and they kind of described it as an orangey marble. Almost looks like inside of a pink grapefruit.
Yeah, that's a very good.
Or molten sun corona colored.
Yeah, here's the other one here.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
I like that label.
Looks like extrusion stretches. That the press isn't quite hot enough, so it doesn't just squish. The puck, it kind of stretches it out, so I'm sure.
And they changed a couple things on the booklet too, So I'm not gonna pull the booklet out too, but I think I haven't opened. I have the colored version of the U.S. version. I haven't seen the color of that. I think it's probably more reddish, right? It looked like it was supposed to be more red, but I haven't. it's actually still sealed. So, I may check it later and see what the difference is. And then check the run out grooves and all that good stuff. Right, Mark?
Yeah.
Got to see the differences out there. See if there's anything different in the master.
See if they use the same metal parts or not.
What about you, Mark? Have you added anything into your collection, or did you get any Christmas presents?
I didn't get anything. Well, actually, I did get something. If you give me 1 second, I can go grab it, actually.
Go grab it.
Okay, hang on.
Yeah, I think the only other thing non-Kiss that I got was that, I think I posted out that I got that Metallica Black Album, that, box set. Man, a lot of stuff in there to go through.
That's what, 14 CDs or something?
Something like that, and CDs, DVDs, and vinyl.
You got the full set of rough demos, I think, for that album in there. And then you've got work tapes and the riffs tape as well.
Oh, yeah, riffs. Yeah, there's a riff CD.
And then there's, I think, a ton of live shows. Again, they've been very good on really bulking out their packages with a good selection of different kind of venues, audiences, and locations for them.
Yeah, I think one was
all right
at the Oakland, Coliseum. So anyway, they got a lot of DVD stuff in that.
I wanted to thank you, Ken, for your first contribution. You were the first contributor to Volume 2 of the Aerosmith book with images. With your concert stubs.
You're welcome.
You even beat my sister. She went to a Permanent Vacation show in Binghamton, which I can't remember why I didn't go. So that's cool. Mark, what did you get recently?
So this was given to me by my mother, which really shocked me, because usually when you get presents from your mom, it's usually like socks or something like that for Christmas, and that she got me this really surprised me. But it also shows that throughout the years, she's been actually listening to what I like, and it's registering. So she got me this bad boy.
Oh, boy.
Oh, Mick Rock. Awesome.
Yeah, it's that picture book, and it's just amazing, some of these photos in here. Like,
nice.
It's totally just, it's pretty much just a photo book with some text stuff in there. But it's a really, really cool, like if you're into this era of Bowie, which is 72, 73, then you'll really dig this book. And I was surprised that she got it, because it's not cheap. I mean, I saw it before in the bookstores, and when I opened it and saw that she had gotten it for me, I was like, what the hell? Like, that's incredible, So, but yeah, that's what she got me for Christmas. And believe me, I was like opening it up, looking at it, going through all the photos just constantly throughout the last couple of days. And I really, really enjoyed it. I mean, you know me, I'm a Bowie guy, mainly because of Mick Ronson initially, but then I've gotten into his whole career as, things have, developed, right? So, yeah, I really, really like it. And if you like that era, like I said, 72, 73, it's just amazing, amazing photographs.
Great era for Bowie.
Yeah.
With and Ronson, for that matter. So really, really cool stuff coming out of that, which kind of is related to Kiss tangentially, at least. So what else do we have going on? Well, Bruce Kulick, as I mentioned, is playing tonight at Vamps in Las Vegas. So the question I wanted you both to answer was, you get to pick one song for Bruce to put in his set. Now, he and his band have been absolutely fantastic at picking good songs to go in there. So, Mark, you were talking. Let's go straight back to you. You've had plenty of time to think about it.
Yeah, and I mean, right away, the first song that comes into my mind is one of my favorite Kiss songs of all time in the Bruce era, which is King of the Mountain. I mean, I think to me, that's one song that I've always loved from that era. It's the opening track of my favorite non-Kiss makeup album. And, it's such a great example of what Eric Carr brought to the band, too. I mean, besides Bruce. And I mean, Bruce also does a great solo in that song. I remember the opening 10 minutes of his instructional guitar video. The first guitar solo he goes through on that videotape is for King of the Mountain. So I remember when I was looking at that video and going through it, I actually, sat down and learned it because he was going through licks like that from that album. So I really like that album, and I think that that's a classic song in my opinion. Just as to me, and I just might be controversial, but to me, this song is as much a classic to me, as something like Shout It Out Loud is, in my opinion.
Well, you're totally entitled to your opinion. Good pick, by the way. I thoroughly agree, but it wasn't my pick. Ken, what would you choose?
Yeah. Well, mine is a song that probably people a song that doesn't really get any love, though I like it. But it was Bruce's first appearance with Kiss, which was "Lonely Is the Hunter." I think it would be actually pretty good live. You know how songs would become better live. Yeah. I think it would be, because it has that middle section, that riffing section they do in the middle of it, and then this solo is just a great soaring solo. So I'd love to hear that one live. I know they've never done it live, but I would love to hear that one. It would be actually a surprise. You know how you hear songs that they pull out these songs, you're like, yeah, you don't risk for it, but then when you hear it live, it's like, oh, yeah, this is pretty darn good. So that's what I would expect from it. And I've always liked it. I know a lot of people, don't care for it, but that's one of the ones I do like of Gene's songs off of this, Animalize.
Good picks. That's a super deep cut as well. So that would be really
very
cool.
Deep.
That would be really cool to hear, and the geeks in the audience, I'm sure, would respect, and they would all have that little factoid on as well. Bruce's first. I couldn't decide. I've got two, and I can't split them, and neither of them a Kiss.
Oh.
Yeah. Number one pick would be "Pick Me Up," which Bruce co-wrote with Rosetta on one of the albums he did a session with in, I think, 1980 for that one. And she was a singer out of the Pat Benatar mold. And with a really super high-octane, powerful voice. Also probably out of the, who was the girl who sang in Meatloaf's band, Carla DeVito. Out of that school of hard rock chick singer, Brannigan as well, for that matter. Really up-tempo song. But also the attitude of the lyrics and a lot of great playing, because he wasn't playing super rock at that time. If you listen to that first Blackjack album and even the second one, they straddle adult oriented or, a little bit more commercially acceptable or accessible sound. So I wouldn't mind him going back to the earliest parts of his career. And then I couldn't decide something from BK3.
Yeah,
and to be Kiss related, Ain't Gonna Die. Even Fate would be great. That first 5 songs on that album are spectacular. They're really well done. And I was just listening to that today, and I'm like, we're coming up to 12 years since that was released. And that is super depressing. Not that he hasn't given us a ton of music in the interim with the various projects that he's worked on and the cruises and all that, but just the amount of work. Do you remember the vlog he was doing, the blog of all his studio activity, and there'd be 6 months and there'd be nothing, and it was a really fun time to follow what he was up to creatively, and also to have the Gene Simmons connection with that song. I'd like to hear it done within a Kiss set, just to give it a little bit more context and see how it fits in with the rest of the Kiss material. So that could be really fun, or it could be really dumb. And if not, I'll go with Mark's or yours. Both of those are really good picks as well. So
they're all good.
Yeah. So I did say that we're going to get into some more topics, but it's the 30th today. That means it's the 39th anniversary of the start of the Creatures tour.
All right.
Isn't that incredible? 39 years.
Wow.
So just food for thought. Either of you have a topic you want to get us started with today instead of me starting?
Sure, I'll start with one.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, well, this one kind of caught my attention when I was able to get on the board, of course. But once I did get on there and I opened it up, I kind of piqued my attention, which is there will be at least 4 more off the soundboards. And I was like, oh, okay. So I thought at first I was, maybe foolishly thinking that this was some sort of official announcement that was just being posted on there. But of course it wasn't. It was, it says according to someone who has connections with the band on Facebook. So God knows who that could be. All right. But, I'll be honest. I really enjoyed the Off the Soundboard. I bought it on vinyl. I got that, the weird vinyl, the color variation one there. And I really enjoyed it. I thought they did a good job with it. I mean, sure, it's very plain Jane packaging and stuff like that. But the sound of it was what I was really happy about, because I'll be honest, I've bought a couple of bootleg records throughout the years from our German friend there who sells those a lot of times online. And I bought one that's called Kiss Hydraulic. That was really good. It's like a 77 issue of the Love Gun tour that they did. I think it's a 77 show from San Francisco. It's really good. Red vinyl, all kinds of guitar picks and stuff like that. And I was like, wow, it's a great package. It sounds good. And then I also bought Living the Life, which is the early 74 issue. And it came on this orange vinyl, and it sounds like somebody recorded them underwater. It sounds horrendous. It's like the worst sounding thing I've ever heard. And it totally made me no longer pursue any more bootleg recordings, because I find a lot of times what happens is you'll get these great packages out there, like something from Unmasked from Australia, posters, programs, and all this stuff in there, and then you put on the vinyl and it sounds like absolute bunk. It's like somebody's recording a concrete mixer instead of a band. That's what it sounds like. It sounds horrendous. So I'm very happy that they have good soundboard recordings like this. I'm hoping that there's more good quality stuff like this available to get down the line. I'm very sure Kiss won't release something that's that horrendous, like the stuff I spoke about earlier. But, I really hope that this is actually true, that there will be. I'm doubting there's going to be 4 more next year, but even if there's 1 or 2, I'm hoping it's another good quality one. And from an era that's, kind of unexpected. I mean, the 2001, I think, was the last thing people were expecting to hear for a recording. I think everybody kind of suspects that you're going to get something classic like 76 or 77 or something like that, right? So I would like to hear something like a good soundboard from, let's say, 84 or 82 or something, that would be an interesting next kind of step to, take for them as far as the soundboard stuff. And I'm guessing that there are good soundboard stuff, because I think I remember hearing somebody posting or reading somebody that posted that there was some decent soundboards from the Animalize era. I think, I'm not too sure. I'm not a good expert on these things, but maybe you guys might know better if there's good quality stuff floating around from that era or not.
Nashville 84. Oh wait, that would be Lick It Up. Sorry, Albuquerque 84. Lick It Up. I can only think of Lick It Up having a bunch of soundboards off the top of my head. I know there's Detroit clearly from, what's it called? From Animalize, because we've got the video. That is tied down with rights, I think, so there's no likelihood of that getting reissued anytime soon. So if there is, that was also, I think, broadcast, so that could circumvent the limitations of the video audio and get that out. That would, again, it's another tour, so who knows? Ken, what would you want if you were to, get to pick one? Or we'll come back to which one do you definitely not want to be released. Would really be a turnoff for you. So,
well, I saw that thread. I guess someone in the know knows there's at least 4. Someone supposedly in the know knows there's going to be at least 4 planned. So.
Someone who knows a car wash guy, huh? Someone in someone's sister's mother's brother's.
It all
cousins.
depends on how the next, how they sell. It all depends on how they sell. But I wouldn't touch wouldn't touch, a Live 2 era because I'm hoping for an Alive 2 kind of box, set kind of thing. But yeah, 83. If there is something, creatures, or a Lick It Up. I'm wondering if they recorded they actually did record the soundboard of the like the Stone when I went saw them in the club. I know there's a recording, an audience recording, which I've heard, but it would be nice if there was something like that, something in that era. I would like creatures to Lick It Up, a nice soundboard from that, and then something maybe with around Hot in the Shade, that too. So those would be the main ones.
What would be? Did you say your turn off?
Well, I really don't want a reunion one. I don't know what it is, but I would rather have that original lineup, an old, from the 70s. Again, not the Live 2, but something else in the 70s would be fine. Early 70s, 75, 74, something back then would be really cool. I know there's not that many songs in the set list, but if they switched out any songs, maybe they could put a couple different,
or 2 shows in one package. One disc this, one disc that.
Yeah.
They could do 2 shows, anything like that. So yeah, that would work.
Because most of your 70 shows were contractually 75 minutes, so that'll fit on a CD.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. Yeah.
So, especially if you take out some of the lengthier raps. So
yeah.
But
we don't need to
hopefully not too much
have the full raps on everything. No.
Yeah, Mark, coming back to you for what you definitely would not want. What would be the biggest turnoff?
Well, like I said, I'm a big hater of audience recordings. To me, they've just left bad taste in my mouth, and I find that a lot of this middle era stuff, like I find like a lot of the Unmasked stuff and a lot of the Dynasty stuff that I've run across online is just like terrible sounding. Some of these ones, and the thing that kills me is that you read these little posts on there saying, "This is one of my favorite recordings. It sounds fantastic. It might be an audience recording, but it's almost as good as a soundboard." And I put it on, and it's like, "What the hell is this?" It sounds like for somebody's like drilling into my ears with this audio. It's like, I don't understand why people just can't come out and say, "Listen, this sounds like crap," But historically, it might be interesting to listen to for the following reasons. But I think that the unfortunate thing, Ken, is that from what I've read, the reunion tour is probably one of the most recorded tours that they've ever done, and they probably have excellent quality recordings from that tour, probably in abundance. I wouldn't be surprised if that's maybe one of the next ones, or maybe even Psycho Circus tour or something like that. But I agree though. I would love to hear some of the early stuff, because I remember seeing online some stuff from the Agora or something like that, and sometimes those recordings seem to be good because they're sometimes radio simulcasts, right? So, and those ones, while they're not like pristine studios quality, but these FM broadcasts are pretty good. I have a whole ton of really excellent FM broadcasts. So I think the KISS ones would be just as good. I would think. Yeah,
I have a Nashville one broadcast that was put out on CD back in the 80s that I have of KISS. But going back to the reunion, I would rather they save the reunion stuff for video, Blu-ray, DVD,
for a box
reunion, like the best performances from the reunion, from different cities.
Band member picks, because find out which is Peter's favorite show from the reunion.
Eddie Cannon.
No. Find out Ace's favorite show from the reunion. Find out Gene and Paul's and Doc's. and just a quick note.
Yeah.
This was my favorite show because, whatever, and just put that in there. And then the video, as Ken said, so I save the reunion for a reunion box, just because, it's not really been done. And I think it's another opportunity to do a pretty cool deluxe with that amount of material.
Sure.
And just the ease of doing it and documenting the rehearsals and the, there's a lot of ephemera from that period. I've got stacks of it, the rehearsal stuff, the daily itineraries from Van Nuys, is just really cool. I've even got parts of costumes, very small parts, or
they
part
could
of the
call
stage.
They could call it the complete, with a K, the complete reunion tapes. Something like that, and
$8,000.
And $8,000 exactly, or yeah.
But Paul Stanley insists that you come to his house to pick it up and buy a brick or a square of carpet while you're at it.
Yeah, carpet with it and drapes.
Carpet. That's good.
All right, so my pick for off the soundboard, if it continues, I would really like them to do the complete shows of some of the stuff that we've had live cuts from in the past. So we've had a live cut from Animalize Era used as a B-side in Europe. That was Heavens on Fire live.
Mm-hmm.
So that complete show, which we've already talked about, it was Kobo. There was, of course, the European Psycho Circus bonus live CD that had, I think, Indianapolis. I don't remember the other cities that were recorded for it, but any of those would be good candidates for a full release, in my opinion. The Australian show that has been used for live stuff on both the box set and on the Blockbuster Greeting DVD, or CD, pardon me, is garbage. It's tinny. It's absolutely unpalatable. The Auckland soundboard is much more appealing for Unmasked Tour. And again, just like the most recent off the soundboard, it's a quirky lineup. So that would be interesting. And it's also a good set list. It's got, just like the recent one, it's got Talk to Me, except Ace is quite a bit younger, and you've got Eric Carr instead of Eric Singer, and a couple of other tracks from Unmasked, and that would also be an honorific towards another area of the world. We always talk about Australia. Well, New Zealand was part of that tour as well, so it'd be nice to throw them a bone. And then, some European stuff, for that matter. There are 92 UK tour.
Yeah, right.
Would be great. You said the club tour. I say the proper arena tour of England and Wales, and I think Scotland as well, for that matter. So any of those would be really cool. What would be a turnoff for me? I really don't know. I think anything after 2008 is probably a cutoff for me of any interest. There were some, live recordings done for 2008, and they were garbage. Well, they were MP3s, number one. Number two, the band was just, not as good as it had been in the past. So I'd like to stay away from that era as much as possible, because we've got Kiss Rocks Vegas representing 2014. And I can't remember what else we've had. So, there's lots of options before even talking about the 70s. And the 70s, because I do hope there are other deluxes, I'd like to think that those would be kind of candidates for inclusion in those, especially on some of the albums that have less outtakes or, interesting stuff to buttress them. They can bulk them out with different live recordings. So who knows? Time will tell on both sides of those. So
the other thing that you said, we have since 2009 or whatever, there's the Dubai, the unreleased,
which we can't watch
video.
We can't actually watch that because the website's disappeared. So even though they promised us all these reviewings up through the end of the year, they broke that promise as well.
I sent them, and just as a note, I hadn't sent anything in a while, but I sent them an email today. So I'm going to see I get it. I don't expect a response from them, but I sent them an email. I think the last time I did was in October. And around late October, they were responding at that time, but I don't know about if they're going to respond anymore.
Yeah, it's depressing. So that's a good topic. Ken, how about you? Do you have something from the board? Have you been able to access it while we've been talking? Or
Yeah, I
is it
can
still
access
misbehaving?
it. Well, okay. Well, there's this one about the pick 4, which is if you had to choose 4 Kiss albums, just 4 Kiss albums for the desert island, the desert island, picks. Which 4 would you pick to take with you?
All right, rapid
Assuming you're
fire.
going to be stranded on this island forever.
Rapid fire. Who do you want to go first?
Okay, you, Julian.
Oh, thanks a lot.
We'll keep with you because I don't
All
want to give you any time.
The least amount of time to think about that, I'm going to go with Asylum because it's special to me. I'll go with Alive because it's definitive, covering the best of those first 3 albums. I will go with Double Platinum because, again, it was my early introduction to it. And then I need something from later period. So, I guess I can't say the Kiss box set because that's a whole bunch of...
And actually, they're saying, we'll let you get by the one that says, because he's saying only official Kiss releases only. It says double albums and double vinyls count as 2, but that's all right. I'll let double platinum count as 1.
Oh, okay. Well, if it's
okay.
Well, MTV Unplugged for my 4th.
MTV. Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Now, if you say CD, it's 1, but if you say it's vinyl, it's 2. Anyway, okay.
Well,
that's a good one though. That's a good pick though. I like the pick. I'm not worried about double albums, so whatever. So that those are good picks. Mark, what do you think you take?
What I would take, I think I kind of look at it the same way, kind of like Julian does, because Asylum for me is a very personal record. It's one of my favorite records of all time. It was one of those records that I gravitated to very early, and I spun it a lot going to band rehearsal. So Asylum for sure is 1 for sure. Of the original albums that came out at the beginning, I love those 3 records, but I have to say that lately I've been really listening a lot to Dress to Kill. So I'd have to probably say that that's one to take with me as well. It's not the longest record, so I'll probably have to spin it quite a few times. But I would still be happy to take that one. Rock and Roll Over for me is my favorite Kiss record, period. So that has to come with me. And I'm telling you, when I went to Portugal, I know you guys heard this story before, but when I went to Portugal to play with my band in the Azores, there was a house we stayed in, and they only had 2 records that were like somewhat known American stuff, which was Deep Purple live in Japan, made in Japan, and Kiss Rock and Roll Over. Were the only 2 records. The rest of it is all Portuguese stuff. And I listened to Rock and Roll Over every day about 7-8 times in that house. Just spun it and spun it and spun it all the time because it was either that or, made in Japan. And we play that too. But I listened to that album so much, and I'm still to this day not sick of that record. I love it. That's how much it's, a classic in my opinion. So that's 3. And the 4th one I think that I would pick mainly because I would like to as well maybe take something that's more up to date or maybe a little bit more current. I would probably take Sonic Boom with me because while I don't think it's the greatest record they've done, I do remember the kind of initial build up and the hype towards it. I remember seeing those little recording videos when they posted them, in the studio showing them recording, and Eric saying, yeah, I think that was a good take for me on the drums. And, I liked those kind of videos. I was always kind of getting hyped up when I saw those. And then I remember the podcast did this big release day episode that they did live when the record came out. And so there was a lot of a build up in memory from that record. So I think I would probably take that one as my 4th.
That was a fun time. I've still got all those videos as well as the Roadrunner stuff that they did in Europe. Little FLVs. What the hell were those? Flash videos.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I converted them into MPEGs which is pointless, but there you go. All right, Ken, so what would you take with you?
Yeah, that's very difficult, but kind of like you guys, you kind of have that special album that kind of started you off, or that you got first. And for me, I would bring Alive 2, definitely bring Alive 2. I would bring double platinum, so I could get the early stuff, a mixture of the early songs from the first album through up to Love Gun. So that, and then 2 other albums is going to be difficult. One of them, I think I'm going to pick. Oh boy, it's really difficult.
Someone's got to pick Creatures.
Well, here, I don't know. I'm going to pick. I'm going to pick The Elder.
The Elder?
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm going to pick The Elder. And for my last one, I'm going to pick Kiss Chikara.
There's an odd pick.
That was a greatest hits kind of CD. Because it has, again, 80s stuff. It has the 80s. It has the long version of I Was Made for Loving You on there. And then it has the other stuff that came after. I have to look it up now. What songs are on there? I think I have it up
I Love
here.
It Loud's there, so you're covered at least for one for
Wait
Creatures.
A minute. Where is it?
He refers to the vault, the CD vault.
Yeah. Actually, I could probably find it.
Look it up on the computer.
Yeah.
I don't have it up here. Might as well look it up because I don't think I have it.
All right, so let's see if Wikipedia is accurate. So, Rock and Roll All Night, Detroit Rock City, Love Gun, I Was Made for Loving You, Remix, Creatures of the Night, I Love It Loud, War Machine, Lick It Up, All Hell's Breaking Loose, Heaven's on Fire. What did I say? All Hell's Breaking Loose. Heaven's on Fire, Thrills in the Night, Who Wants to Be Lonely All Night, and Tears Are Falling. So essentially the singles
all the way up through
from the 80s.
Asylum.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
And all the singles. So it has 3 Creatures songs on there. Right? So, and 2 Lick It Up songs?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, and it does not have any of The Elder. So that's why I'm picking The Elder, see? So, yeah, that's I don't know. I mean, yeah, I could change that list tomorrow, but yeah, for now, that would be my list of 4.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough because, I mean, you could
It
cheat
is.
and say, I'll take the Alive box set, I'll take Destroyer 45,
Oh, yeah, then you really cheat. Yeah.
the Kiss box set, and Gene Simmons' Vault. Those are my 4 releases. Need a big island to go with that.
Nice.
All right, so I've got topics already set up here. And this one I thought was really interesting. Do you own any of the White Tiger records? And what did you think of White Tiger? There have been a couple posts this week on the board. Not only this question, and this was by KissFAQ Entity, but also an interview excerpt from Brian James Fox, the drummer in the band, and their expectations and their dreams, a little bit about the recording of the album as well. So, Ken, I guess back in the day, 86, I remember the ads in the news, in the music press for White Tiger, and I didn't touch it. I didn't get it until the 90s. What about you?
Yeah, I can't remember for sure, but I think I might. I don't know if I got it. I think my friend might have gotten it, and then I listened to his, and then I thought, it was okay, and I didn't go, get into it and buy it. So yeah, I kind of surprising that I didn't have it, or I didn't, or still don't have it right now. But yeah, I think I'm pretty sure my friend got it, and we listened to it, and I was like, oh, okay, it's okay, and I just didn't go out and get it.
Yeah, when I did finally hear it, I just, not my not my deal at all. I thought it was complete garbage. Just utter I didn't think the songs were good. I didn't think the performance was good. Didn't think the
There's a lot
recording
better
was
out
good.
there at
I
the time.
I thought the demos Mark did with Peter Criss were way better. I was into that stuff much more. Even some of the histrionic guitar type stuff. But, that thing was right up there with Cacophony. It was just another atonal mess of too many notes in too many different places for no reason whatsoever. Mark, White Tiger.
Honestly, I've never heard the album. The thing is, I realized that it was Mark St. John later when I was in my one band that I started at, Reckon with One Band. My other guy who was in the band, the guitar player Ted at the time, he was the big Kiss fan then. He was the one who reignited my love of Kiss because, when I went into his house the first time, he had these huge posters of Kiss stuff in his house. Like he had like the Unmasked poster. He had it like actually plaqued and on his wall, and he had all kinds of stuff. Like his whole house. I mean, I can't believe that his wife allowed him to do this. Like his whole house, it wasn't like a room. Like the whole house had Kiss stuff. Ace Frehley pictures, this and that in the bathroom, all kinds of stuff. And I think he might have had it, the White Tiger album, but and I'm trying to remember. I'm pretty sure that I remember a time when I probably mentioned it to him because, like you mentioned, I remember seeing ads for it in like Guitar Magazine and Circus and some of these other magazines, and I remember mentioning it to him because I didn't mind Animalize when it came out, and I thought that his guitar playing was pretty cool when it came out, so I remember mentioning it to him. And if I remember correctly, he said that he might have had it, but he wasn't too impressed with it. But I've never heard it myself. I mean, I am curious to hear it, if only just so that I could say I've actually heard it, but I haven't heard it yet. And I'm also curious to hear the stuff that he did with Peter Criss, because I remember reading about that. And I think it was in Peter's book. Didn't he mention something about that in his book? I think. But yeah, I've never heard any of this stuff that he's done outside of Kiss.
Yeah, that stuff with Peter, is I dig Peter Criss. I don't hide that I drink green Kool-Aid, but I like the stuff he did in the mid '80s with the Alliance and the Desperate Men, or Penridge Criss Alliance, or vice versa, whichever way it was. I mean, there's 8 songs from that period, and there's a couple, Baby Hold On, really cool tune. I think we did a Peter Criss episode 5 years ago where we played a lot of that stuff, and it was really cool. Then you get into the late '80s, and you get Tree, or whatever it was called, or whether that's a made-up name or what, doesn't matter. But he definitely worked with Mark, and then he, splintered off into Criss, and kept some of the songs and wrote new ones with Phil Narrow, the Canadian songwriter. And then he goes, and so there's a lot of really interesting Peter Criss material from the early '90s before Criss really got going. And that was one of the things that was shared just before Christmas, was the first ever public Criss show from the Exposure Club in 1991, where you can hear some of that early material. But Peter had some anthems, Wait for the Minute to Rock and Roll. So all of that is way better than White Tiger. But then again, White Tiger for me, I had a similar reaction to Vinnie Vincent Invasion. I got that through Columbia House in '86, and that went in the trash heap. So I was like, what is this crap? I did not care for it at all at that point. And still, there are songs on that album, my favorite being Invasion, which are more on the melodic side, which is why, I was poking Chris Sinzak on the Decibel Geek live thing on Christmas Eve, that I prefer All Systems Go because it's more melodic. And that's just where I am musically, I guess, or was at that point. All right. Anyone else got another topic?
Yes, I do.
Go.
I actually thought this was an interesting topic. And again, it was from our good buddy, the Kissianic Entity. He put a post up saying, how do you introduce new people to Kiss? Now, this one kind of resonated with me because I've actually done this a few times. Good little example of that is my younger nephews. When they started coming around the house, like when they were like in a more impressionable age, like when they were like 5 to, let's say, 8 years old. I'm talking about my older sister's kids, because she has 3 boys, and they used to come over a lot and visit. And I thought that the best way to introduce them to Kiss was I showed them the Scooby-Doo stuff with Kiss. And they loved it because they were big on Scooby-Doo then. And then they were kind of looking at me and go, Uncle Mark, who are these? What are these weird characters? I was telling them, that's Kiss. And I showed them like the cassettes and CDs and stuff. And they were fascinated by it. And they always kind of liked it when they did like their big special powers and stuff like that. So they immediately fell onto the whole superhero end of it from Kiss. And it worked because years later, the middle nephew became a bass player. And one of his earliest influences he'll always mention is, I love Kiss, and my uncle introduced me to Kiss and stuff like that. So it worked, you know. The other guys, the other boys, they didn't end up being musicians, but they still love Kiss too to this day. So I think that introducing youngsters through Scooby-Doo is a brilliant way to get them into it. If I introduce people that are musicians that I know, it depends on the kind of music they like. Like, for example, Ken sometimes frequents this live stream that I do on Fridays there, right? That one with Patrick, the vinyl archivist, he calls himself. And he likes Kiss, but he's not very familiar with Kiss as far as what they play. So I'll always get him to spin something, because he has the whole thing on vinyl. He has every record, even though he doesn't know much of them. But he's an archivist, so he just archives everything. Mm-hmm. So I'll always get him to play like Unholy, or I'll get him to play something off of Revenge, because he likes that kind of good production end of stuff. You know, he's an archivist, you know, so he wants the best quality sounding stuff. So I'll always get him to play that stuff, and it's starting to work. He's like, you know, he told me before that he spun Revenge a couple times on his own now and stuff like that. And he's starting to explore some of the back catalog a bit more. Mm-hmm. So, and then of course, when I go over to like my sister's place now, her boyfriend is a drummer, and he's totally from that middle period, you know, like Bad Company, and he loves all that kind of stuff. So the best thing that I did to get him into it, even though he was into Kiss, sort of, was spin stuff like Rock and Roll Over and stuff like that. So I think it depends who you're trying to get into the band, but I think those approaches worked well for me.
Nice. Ken, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, I agree that the few times that I've tried to get someone into Kiss, I'd either make it could be even a tape, cassette tape back in the day, songs that I thought they might like, you know, based on, what they listen to, right? What you're talking about, and also I know I've done CD. I think before the reunion tour, my sister went with me to the show at San Jose, and she wasn't. She knows Kiss. It's like the fair weather type. People that they've heard Rock and Roll All Night and maybe a couple more. So I made her on that one, I made her a number of songs on the CD that were more likely that they were going to play. Mm. So okay. That I figured they might play live. So and some other ones to get her used to it, but and be familiar. So when she's at the concert, she'll recognize some of the songs. So. I think that worked pretty well for her, from what I remember. But otherwise, one of my buddy who became a pretty big Kiss fan back in the 70s, he wasn't listening to Kiss, and I got him into Kiss, totally got him into Kiss. And he was listening to Styx at the time. I think I was his favorite thing. I said, Styx, I get rid of those. That's no good. You got to listen to, the Kiss. And I started playing. I probably played double platinum and stuff like that for them. Kind of that best selection of materials from the album. So yeah, that's again, it is dependent on what they're listening to and who they are. Like Scooby Doo thing is great for the kids. I think I did give us a gift of Scooby Doo to some my nephew's family or whatever, his kids, so they could hey, you see if they like it. They might like Kiss, or it might rub off or something. So yeah, things like that.
Never tried to introduce anyone to Kiss. I try not to meet people, so can't see why I want to try and persuade them to listen to something. I don't feel the need to justify myself to anyone, perfectly honest.
Yeah, I mean, I don't purposely go out and push Kiss. If someone wants to ask me about it and they say, "Oh, yeah, I don't know, what they got," and I say, "Well, would you like to hear some stuff or whatever?" And then if they say, "Yeah," I'll give it. I'll say, "Okay, yeah, I'll put something together for you."
What's funny though, I find is that seems to be something that's very common amongst people in a certain age bracket. Like I know that between the ages of, like, say 15 and 18, I know that even to this day, I know lots of guys do that where they're like, "No, man, you don't want to listen to that. You want to listen to this," and that's always like that kind of period of when you try to influence each other when you're the most highly impressionable. I think once you're older, you're kind of set in what you like and stuff like that. And it's very rare, I think, that somebody will come to you in your 40s and say, "Hey, is there something that you have that I might like?" You know what I mean? But that's usually the age of where I think your musical tastes are molded the most, I think. I mean, sure, it changes over time, but I think some of your earliest stuff is probably embedded in you between the ages of 15 and 20, I'd say.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, a huge Neil Sedaka fan to this day, so I was into that way back. So that's just one of the things that has stuck with me.
Yeah, I'm still in love with the 4 albums that I basically had growing up, which was Rubber Soul, Sgt. Pepper's, Shave Fish, and Imagine.
Oh, Shave Fish, yeah.
I think we had the Red and Blue album as well. So
those
were basically my rock beginnings, those 4 albums. So I've never felt the need to, try and introduce. I've always, if I hear something that's really cool and I get excited about, then, if an opportunity arises, just like, my buddy Jonathan get into his car and he's playing Merciful Fate, The Oath, and I've not heard that because I was never into that. I'm like, what the hell is that?
What's that?
That's really cool. And recently introduced me to a band called Satan, a new wave of British heavy metal band. Really, really good stuff. Great music. And, Mondo Drag, another introduction. They're a Bay Area band, kind of the power Sabbath riffy keyboards. Heavy, so, and the Watchers, another one for that.
And that's how people got into music back in the day. You'd be like, I was in the back of someone's car in the late 70s, and the guy is blaring this music. I'm like, what the heck is this? It's like a screeching.
Put that 8-track tape in, and
it was 2112. I was listening at the Temples of Syrinx, and Geddy Lee. I was like, that was the first time ever hearing Geddy Lee, and if you hear him on that one, it's like, whoa, what the, is going on? And but it was great, and I immediately became, kind of a fan, and went out and looked for that album, and so on. The rest is history of that. But so stuff like that happens.
Yeah, and, like Mark, I have an older sister who's not that much older than me. She's 18 months older, and she got a lot of tunes. I mean, she's the one who bought Motley Crue, Too Fast for Love. She bought, who else has she introduced me to? Oh, some of the good English stuff, Balaam and the Angel, Dogs D'Amour, The Cult, for that matter. I have an aunt who's just a little bit older as well, so and she got introduced to a lot of the music that I still listen to through those connections. She was, kind of big on, from Donny Osmond to glam.
Oh, Donny.
So
Oh, wow.
that's
Yeah,
where
Glass.
the Slade and all that came in. So
Yeah.
again, sharing something because of enthusiasm is a little bit different than being a Jehovah Witness of music and going and knocking on people's doors. Hello? I'd like to talk to you about the music of Kiss. Here, play Scooby-Doo. Or here's MTV Unplugged.
It's G-rated. It's okay.
Yeah. It's completely innocent, and he spits blood, too.
Yeah.
Big
All right. Let's see. I think I've got one more topic before time's up, and that's Stav Karas, or Karas. Did Destroyer potentially destroy?
Hmm.
You shouldn't really ask Mark that, but
he's going to say yes.
Is there anyone here who thinks the symphonic creative choices as well as the songs like Beth potentially hurt Kiss in the long term while being extremely beneficial in the short term? So let's throw Mark to the wolves. What do you think, Mark?
Well, I think people know my opinion about this record. I've always said from the beginning that I think that this record is absolutely hideous. I think that as far as if you were to listen to Kiss from the beginning, I always kind of try to envision it from the perspective of a person like my sister, who started the album, started listening to them from the very beginning, and went through each record, got Alive, was totally floored by it. All her friends were blasting it in the apartment buildings where we lived, and then, out comes this record. And I remember her telling me, because I was really young when that came out officially, but even back then, the reaction to that record in the short term, like right away, was not one of being impressed. People were like, "What the hell is this?" Because they were so used to the raw, rambunctious, loud Kiss, the mean, kind of band, the dangerous band, and then they kind of got neutered a bit, and they got kind of, more polished, and there's pianos going on now, and there's ballads and stuff like that, and this is not the Kiss that people were used to. And for me, that was the first thing that immediately I did not like. I remember the first time I heard Detroit Rock City from the album. Now keep in mind, this is from the record that I'm talking about. When I heard that piano underneath all the guitars, I was like, what is this? This is piano. Like, I was even looking at the credits. Did they have like a guest piano player on this whole record or what? And I didn't like it. I didn't like the way they kind of softened up the sound. It just was not what I was expecting from Kiss. And when, Rock and Roll Over came into my frame of, reference there later, I was very happy. And that to me was, I thought that's what they should have did after Alive, But now in the long term, if you think about it, sure, Destroyer is the record that they keep going back to. They keep referring to it as their masterpiece, and they play a lot of the songs off of it live still. But it's just, to me, I think it was very risky that they did it. Did it help them? You know what? I mean, they said it themselves in their book. If Beth had not have caught and sold the record as much as it did, who knows what would have happened with Kiss? Because they were even saying it themselves that they thought that it was teetering on the brink of not doing so good. They kind of stalled at 700,000 or something like that, and then it was Beth that pushed it over the edge, right? But I don't know. There was just something about that whole sound of it that I didn't like. But keep in mind, I like Bob Ezrin for what he's done with Pink Floyd. I like what he's done with Alice Cooper, but I think that style of production works better for that type of band and music. I just don't think his touch is what I like with a band like Kiss.
Interesting point. I mean, you say that it stalled, but I think that trade ad is 892,000. At that point, they didn't have any gold albums whatsoever on the studio side. Only Alive had gone gold. So they had automatically followed up a, gold studio album, or platinum, because it wasn't didn't qualify for recertification. At that point, it had already sold 1 million. They'd followed that up with a similarly successful studio album before Beth was ever released. Obviously, Beth, is that song that transformed them from stars into superstars. Sounds so catchy, and did. But it changed the dynamic that you then had a song that only had one member of Kiss on it. And that was the one song that saved Kiss. So it does insert a completely different dynamic that draws them away from being a band unit. All for one, all for one. We play our instruments and we fail together and we succeed together. And no, we don't. Peter Criss can sing a hit. That the other guy is maybe considered the least of the members because he doesn't bring many songs in that end up on albums. Whether or not he was writing is a whole different matter. Nothing that he may have been involved in creatively to that point on his own ended up on a Kiss album until Beth. So so many dynamics are shifting even before you talk about symphonies and accordions, or calliopes, and all the accoutrements of art being overlaid to the black leather Gotham gods. They are taken from something street theater into that superhero. So there are so many transformations going on at once, but I can't put myself back there because I wasn't there. So I don't feel I'm qualified to answer that question because I'm doing everything in hindsight after an abundance of information has been spoiled upon us over the decades since the album came out. For the original fans who became a fan and made alive that platinum or double platinum seller that it was, I can't project into their heads whether it destroyed or not, because that's what-ifism. And it's really kind of silly to go there. But I think looking at the dynamics that change that I've just mentioned, it's a right pickle those boys were in. Ken?
Yeah. And even I wasn't there yet. I think I just missed out on it. And because, like you said, Live came out, and I think they were mostly, the kids that bought that were, teenagers or teenage to late teen maybe. And then when they thought, okay, they got a new album out and they're going to buy it. And then they hear this, slick production and toned down, guitars, not as raunchy or anything as what was on the Live. They kind of like, whoa, this is, what the heck are they doing? Kind of thing, reaction. I think that's what a lot of it was. And that's one of the reasons I think they got some feedback there. And I think Kiss themselves were kind of listening back to it themselves, was like, oh, we may have, and after the song, they thought, oh, this, maybe we went a little bit too far. And then with the first, like Shout It Out Loud, Detroit City not really becoming hits, not really hitting. And then fortunately, like you said, not Destroy, but Beth came out and kind of saved it. But when Beth came out, you also had Paul Lynde special that came out, and I think that drew in a lot of younger fans, even younger fans and kids, younger kids, not teenagers, but even under 10 and under, and that drew some more in that way. And then like you said, Julian, the dynamics were kind of all over the place at the time and changing. And they had that knee-jerk reaction and like, we need to get back to what our meat and potatoes stuff, the rock and roll, raunchy rock and roll stuff, which was good. And if Destroyer didn't have Beth that made a hit, I think they still would have had a hit with Calling Dr. Love or Hard Luck Woman, or around the same. But I don't think they would have sold as many. I don't think they would have sold as many records, rock and roll over records, without Destroyer, for instance. What was the question?
That's a good point.
Would they have gotten on Paul Lynde without Beth?
Yeah.
I think they would have. Well, that's a good question. Yeah. how did they get on Paul Lynde? What was the reason they got on Paul Lynde? Was it Beth, or was it, Bill O'Coin going out there and pushing them and trying to get them on a show? I don't know. I don't know what the answer to that is, or if someone knows it. Do you know that? I don't know.
I know nothing.
Yeah. So it'd be interesting. We don't have Bill to tell us right now.
And it's also interesting because you mentioned how you said even the band's reaction to it was kind of, they were nervous about it, because there was that interview I remember hearing where they did that interview with them in the hotel. And I remember in that hotel room, and I think Gene was on the bed or underneath the covers or something like that. It's some ridiculous interview. And they were mentioning there at that time that they were going to be working with Eddie Kramer again on their next record. That was during that time period, right?
And so no ballads.
Yeah.
No ballads, no pianos.
Yeah, they were they were doing damage control already at that time, right?
They were worried about it.
Yeah, they were doubting themselves from the moment it was mixed because of the Jack Douglas thing. We got to get someone to remix this. Well, as everyone found out later, there was no one doing what Bob had done. So it would have been a really interesting thing had they not gone forward with it, but I think they were so far down the rabbit hole that they had no choice but to go through with release. I mean, that's the really fascinating part about history, the whole story of Kiss, of these little things that happen, because they also broke the other cardinal rule to a certain extent with replacing Ace on those songs, even if it was Bob's decision to do so, because the stuff needed to get done or whatever. It doesn't matter the reasons. All of a sudden, they are, the four who are not one and never were one. One in name only.
Yeah, well, real quick, that Mark said about the sound, I do remember, I had the Live 2 first, and then I started doing the back catalog and other stuff. And when I went back, and I was used to hearing Detroit Rock City for the first time on the Live 2, and then going back to Destroyer, when I played that, I thought, whoa, this just sounds way toned down. It was a shock. It was a shock the first time I heard that. I didn't particularly care for it at the beginning either. So I could see how some of those fans that were listening to it live were expecting, a certain kind of sound.
That's I want to end on this point because it's a question and I guess a wish. I would love Bob Ezrin to do an interview where he went track by track through Rock and Roll Over and Love Gun and tell us which of the songs released on those albums he would have allowed to have made those albums were he behind the console. Not to talk about the production or his evaluation of what Eddie Kramer did, because you don't do that to producer versus producer. That would just be rude. Where he can be, talk about the songs. Would he have allowed Christine 16 to have that, kind of cheap middle?
Yeah.
Or would he have said, "Oh, that's a great device, a great element, but I would have done it this way." What would Bob, what would have Bob brought to that material if that was what was presented to him? And that's the kind of question that we could theoretically ask. Not me, obviously, but it'd be really interesting to hear that sort of answer. So that's a bunch of topics from the board, a whole bunch of randomness just as we approach this new year. We've already got our first show of the year planned, and maybe another Look It's Rock and Roll episode, not on Wasp for the first one of the year, something a little bit more interesting.
Not Wasp this time.
Well, Wasp is very niche in the era that we're now into. We're so far past Crimson Idol that you got to be pretty hardcore to still be following the band and our episodes. So. Chime in with your thoughts on these topics today. Leave us a message. We do want to do an episode where we read everyone's comments from the YouTube page, pick some gems to respond to. And of course, in the new year, we will do some live episodes as well. And hopefully we'll get some participants to join us and talk about your histories or maybe gorillas. Take issue with Mark's opinion or Ken's or my opinion. It's all fair game on a conversation. It's always nice to have that conversation with new faces, voices, and opinions. So for now, that is it for 2021. Let's kick down that door to 2022 and hope the fuck, it's a lot better than this
Better,
year.
yeah,
You know, we didn't quite get it this year, what we were hoping for. You know, I'm not going to say how much worse can it get, knock on wood, but hopefully it will be a better year for everyone and for your families and loved one as well. So for now, from Mark, from Ken, Lonnie, Andrew, Alex, Daniel, everyone who's been part of the show, thank you all for joining us this year, and we will see you in 2022. Bye for now. Thank you for spending time listening to the KissFAQ podcast today. All sales are final, there are no refunds. If you'd like, look us up on Facebook or come over to the KissFAQ message board and discuss the topic we've broadcast today. Don't forget to rate us on iTunes, Spreaker, or wherever you've listened to the show. We hope you'll join us again.